securing that strong bot lane, which means we're probably going to get some sort of big answer coming in on the opposite side here for RNG. They could try and lock in something like the Ezreal to try and answer for that. Kalista we've seen come through. Varus as well as being the most played for Gala as of right now. And if you end up locking in this with something like the Nautilus, you end up in a very strong dual lane against that bottom side of the map for Samdi and Pudding.
Yeah, RNG just saying, look, we know what we're good at, and this is what makes RNG so scary, is that, yes, is Gala, I suppose, a weakness sometimes in his champion pool? Absolutely, but because you have to put so much effort into keeping Xiaohu down, you cannot ban out Gala, which means he always gets, it's happened in spring as well, the Kai'Sa, he was just always getting the Kai'Sa pick, and now it's the Varus, so they found something that works for them, and they're just doubling down on it.
So now you're in a tough spot here as TT. Do you pick jungle or do you get a strong mid lane matchup for yeah? Because you're going to see more jungle bans come through from RNG if this Sylas is locked in. But the things that do well against LeBlanc are things like, well, we're just going to see the Sylas, so they are going to prioritize that strong mid lane matchup, which means now Xiaopeng is put even further behind because you can go towards things like the Trundle ban, Sejuani, maybe even something like the Nocturne that has still been left up and available.
Plenty on the board for RNG to go and try and target out for Xiaopeng. You can see TT looking to try and take away the Nautilus, probably going to ban away the Leona as well, take away those very hard engaged supports from the side of RNG, and exactly what you said, take away the Nocturne, see if they can just really limit Xiaopeng's champion pool.
And you're going to be kind of in a bit of a hard spot here, Xiaopeng. Now, of course, Xiaopeng does have some of these funky picks that we've seen come out from before, like he's a big Rek'Sai enthusiast, these kind of things. I know Rek'Sai's banned away, but we have things like Skarner that he could potentially fall back to. We saw a little bit of it from him in 2020, but we'll have to see if it's going to be the case. On the opposite side, TT already banned away the Nautilus. We talked about that being a really good pairing alongside the Varus, and getting rid of the Gwen for this top lane for Xiaohu. Now, Xiaohu has been spamming Tam Kench in solo queue. I wouldn't be surprised to see Xiaohu try and pick that up just as a tank in the top lane. He's also been a very big Mundo enthusiast as well, so it feels like that's kind of the tank area that we're going to see from Xiaohu in that top lane. Is Xiaopeng, this would be an interesting one. I'm actually not a big fan if he goes towards the Karthus. I think use such a short range composition, yeah, is not really going to work out. So they do go back towards that Trundle that we pointed out, saying, hey, this is a really good matchup against the Xin Zhao. You get nice early game skirmishes. You can steal away that AD, which makes it really hard for Xin Zhao to have these big fights. And as well, being able to reduce those stats means that you just get less work out of that Gore Drinker.
We're going to get the Mundo here for Xiaohu. Again, this is a fantastic pick here for Xiaohu because you just don't know what style it's going to be. Is it going to be tank? Is it going to be full AD, bruiser, split push? And the Rakan giving a little bit more engaged for RNG. Honestly, I feel like RNG kind of got everything they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, from this perspective, like, most played champion basically for Gala. Xiaohu's been looking phenomenal on this Mundo. Strongest pick for Wei with all those jungle bans and the Xin Zhao. Like, it feels like kind of across the board RNG have set themselves up for this super nice mid-game oriented like team fighting and skirmishing that can work super well with basically this mid-jungle of LeBlanc and Xin Zhao taking over from that mid lane.
Oh, is that a Trundle top? I believe it would be as a Jarvan going into the jungle. So we're getting a little bit of a swap up here for TT.
Yeah, and I actually really like this. So, the traditional Mundo counter, if you go right the way back to Season 3, Season 4, was this Trundle, because you steal away all these stats, you make this Mundo really vulnerable, and it means that when he's trying to go low and get as much of that burst healing coming out from his ultimate, you're actually just killing him off instead. So, I like this coming through from Xiao 7, and also just the flexibility that TT brought into the draft, like bringing across this Jarvan now. We expect to see this hyper-aggressive early game from Xiaopeng, trying to set up the likes of Sam D and even Xiao 7 in that top lane to take over.
And that's the big thing, is going to be see if they can take over. The one thing I am worried about, though, is that with that top side, after a first item or two, you lack a lot of damage. You are very much reliant on that Aphelios and Sylas to be doing the damage later on in these team fights, and we'll see if RNG are worried about that or if they're going to be totally fine for it. You do have some pretty good engage here. Someone doesn't have a flash, it will be very difficult for them to be able to get away, and I do love the Pillar of Ice combination with the Flag and Drag. Can set up for a very nice team fight if you are able to get it. But for RNG, they have power in the lanes. They have push in mid, they have priority in bot, and they're going to have the proactive jungler in these first early levels.
And I think you kind of got proactive junglers on both sides here, so I think it's going to come a lot down to that mid lane matchup. And unfortunately for TT, that is certainly going to swing Yuekai's way in these early stages, unless Ye is able to kind of outplay these early stages. Just you have that range versus mid lane matchup, which means it's a little bit more difficult for the Sylas to get that early pressure. So I certainly think we'll be expecting to see a little bit more of that early aggression coming through from RNG, and it'll be on TT to try and withstand that, and then try and come into these team fights where they're just causing absolute chaos, right? You'll have like Trundle pillars going everywhere. You'll have these, there's Aphelios throwing stuff all over the joint. Like, this is how you want to try and play as TT and see if you can close that gap onto RNG.
We are onto the rift. The Gyos ring true. I always love the neon signs, the little LEDs coming out from the fans in the crowd. And this is going to be a big opportunity now for RNG to continue their winning streak. Their last 6 series, they've only had 1 2-1 series. It was their most recent one gone. And TT, I'm curious to see what they can do with this Jarvan. Like we mentioned with TT and specifically with Xiaopeng, very, very good in the early stages. Very strong at making those advantages known and getting his team ahead. It's when after that point we start to see a little bit of question marks come in for their mid to late game team shot calling. So maybe, as you said, the chaos is where they want to thrive, is where they want to put all of this, because that is where they have found themselves any kind of cohesive gameplay.
And I want to see that chaos up top side here as well, because honestly, I know it sounds weird to try and get this Trundle ahead, but if Trundle gets accelerated towards that Divine Sunderer, you're sending Xiaohu behind, not only do you make sure that the Xiaohu doesn't have items, those items are already negated by the Subjugate as well, so this Mundo becomes even less of a threat in those later stages. So I certainly want to see a little bit more pressure from Xiaopeng towards Xiao7, see if he can help him out, and just try and buy time for Sam D in this bottom lane. A Kraken Slayer is going to do so much work in this game, especially against things like the Mundo, the Xin Zhao, and giving you a little bit more of an opportunity to get towards things like a Wit's End, so you can survive the burst from Yuekai.
You see already Xiaohu going with the Doran's Blade, so I have a feeling this is the plan from RNG. They put a timer on themselves and say, look, we are going for that full split push bruiser. If this game goes to 35, 40 minutes, we don't really have a frontline tank to survive this Aphelios, so they're going to be looking to end this game probably before the 30-minute mark.
Especially when you see the Conqueror, right? You're like, cool, Xiaohu, he's up to his old tricks. It's going to be that stride breaker style of Mundo that he's been picking up. And I mean, he's one of the few people who's actually doing this, but it's such a cool build. However, Wei hovering on this bottom side.
He is over on the bottom side, going to jump onto Xiaopeng, who has the flag and drag to get him out. But a good little skirmish in favor of Wei, and now he knows he has got the full priority in this bot side jungle, so pushing in, popping down the blast plant, making sure that Xiaopeng's day is a misery, and going to be able to probably double scuttle him here.
Yeah, I love this pathing from Wei, right? Cleans his top side, does red. Traditionally, we see the Xin Zhaos like trying to take one more camp before they try and fight over Scuttle, but Wei's like, hang on, if I do this, I give the opportunity for Xiaopeng to try and utilize his strong level 3 gank presence, so instead, I'm going to go sit in this bush bot, match the pathing as, oh, Ming.
Well, Ming goes in, trying to see if he can get anything going. Rose putting his ticking down, he flashes, but the ignite is good enough, and you can see Wei just waiting for this wave to be pushed in. They're looking for more Dagda.
And it's definitely going to happen. Here comes the dive.
Oh, they're going to go for it. There is a cleanse for Sam D, and he has Gravitum, so this makes it very difficult for them to actually fully commit to this. They jump in now. Teleport has been committed. It's going to be teleport answered by the top laners and the mid laners as they finally take down Sam D. Flash is being burnt. They're trying to jump onto Wei. They will pick up 2 more kills, but with no real mana here for Yuekai, he cannot get anything else done. He will trade it back 3 for 3 at the end of it all, but 2 kills for the Trundle.
That's such a good turnaround from TT. Xiaopeng's up here to make sure that Xiaohu doesn't actually take the turret. Yeah, reset right before he TP bot and set up everything to turn that around. Now, still a little bit of a gold lead coming in for RNG as you see that big wave lost bot. But watch this. Look at Ye on your mini-map. He sees this play being set up, instantly recalls to get the mana advantage, and then TPs into this bottom side of the map alongside the Trundle. And that's why RNG are able to turn this around. TT are able to turn this around on RNG. They end up getting a couple of kills, and 2 of those going towards the Trundle means that he's going to end up in a situation where he's accelerated towards this Divine Sunder. It's actually going to make it really difficult for this Mundo to try and answer back. You can see they're basically tip for tat now when it comes towards the double phage is picked up.
Yeah, a lot of time for Xiaohu on the top side. He has his teleport available to him, so we'll see if RNG want to use that teleport advantage with him having the only global in the game available to him. And RNG, they get answered back. They still come out pretty all right. You know, they got a bit of a CS lead in bot side. Of course, you see Xiao7 had to leave the top lane as well. So a lot of free time for Xiaohu to go back. Doesn't have to waste his teleport in the reset. So little small things here, but good signs from TT to show that they're not just going to lay it, roll over and die in this game.
Hey, we said we wanted to see them play an upset, right? And this is kind of the way you do it. Responding to RNG on the map. Getting yourself set up in a situation where you can actually contest a lot of these early skirmishes. And you see Wei is back down this bottom side, trying to see if he can make things happen against the flashless TT AD carry.
I'm going to look for something. They are going to go in with the grand entrance inside and catch people out. Just takes a piercing arrow to the back and should be fine. Wasn't to the knee, so he's going to be okay to stay in this game, or in this lane, I should say. As something I actually didn't even really notice there is that I like the fact that the Pillar of Ice can be used as a precursor to get rid of the passive mitigation. It's something that
Mundo
is going to do just really, really well at setting up if the Jarvan or the Sylas wants to try and jump onto this Mundo.
Yeah, and it's why this is such a good matchup, right? Because not only are you able to pop that super easily, you get the slow, which denies the Mundo from able to pick that up as well. So it actually takes a substantial amount of health, 7% of the Mundo's health just taken off like that by using it. And then as well, you end up with this subjugate, which is going to do a lot of work. You're stealing the AD stats from Xiaohu with the chomp, and you end up on the frozen domain, so you're healing just as much as the Mundo is. It's such a good combo for Xiao7, especially now that he's hit 6, and even more so when he gets that Divine Sunder completed.
We're going to see if they can make something work on this bot side. Remember, no flashes available for Ming or for Pudding, so the supports are going to be a little bit hard-pressed, but I have a feeling Ming has an idea something's going on. There's a Thresh hook out, so Xiaopeng spending an awful lot of time here, and a lot of camps up on that top side are available. He goes in to try and get something going for him, but Gala is totally safe. He flashes forward with the Cataclysm, but just gains a summoner for it, so a lot of time used. All they gain is a flash.
Yeah, you can see there, the second that you get that hook coming through from Pudding, Ming knew the jig was up. He was like, hang on, there's no way Pudding's trying to hook me when he's less than a quarter HP. So now Wei gonna answer on this top side and keep pressure up towards Xiao7. Honestly, they could maybe look for a bit of a play here if Yuekai is able to roam from this mid lane.
He has got the push. Dragon is up and available. There's a lot of jungle camps available for Wei, so he's just going to take the red buff right now and maybe look to reset, maybe start up the Rift Herald that will be spawning in 7 seconds. And RNG not willing to pull a big trigger on this. They are very much a team that likes to take it calm, cool, and collected and slowly suffocate their opponents out of the game.
Yeah, did have the resets coming through from Pudding, and Yuekai not quite able to roam up on time, so they could maybe look for the dive. So instead, they back off. However, it does mean that TT now are in the area first for this Rift Herald. Samdi still in the bottom lane, and Gala gonna go and match.
Gala has to make sure that he doesn't give this free time to this Aphelios. He's got himself about a 15 CS lead, so doing very, very well in this bot side. And now Samdi recognizing that he just can't really stay. The reset came in for Gala first. He needs to either go back or go up towards this Rift Herald to help his team contest.
I mean, right now, I don't know if TT are really in a position to contest, right? Top lane is still being shoved in pretty effectively by Xiaohu. It's one of the nice things about Mundo is you can shove that wave because you can just blast the minion through the rest of them. So not having the best of times here, Xiao7 is actually might look for the all-in.
Might look for it. Subjugate has not been used just yet there by Xiao7, so just testing the water, seeing what harassment he can get down is now we are going to see Wei just solo out this Rift Herald, and TT are a little bit unsure of what they want to do, and this is what we see from RNG all the time. They just out-tempo you in such a smart way, whereas TT in any other situation would be like, oh, the jungler is definitely on the Rift Herald right now, we should go contest. But because Wei goes back, clears his top side, and then just resets that about 30-40 seconds later, everyone on TT's a little bit discombobulated and not quite sure of the timings.
And you just get to see the beauty of priority, right? Because you go top side, it's like, hey, Xiaohu's shoved in. All right, well, Xiao7 can't really get over. Oh, yeah, well, yeah. No, he's pushed in as well. So TT are like, well, we got no way of contesting this. RNG would just move first, get the setup on the objective, so they have to back away. Instead, they could have maybe put some pressure down towards the flashless Gala on the bottom side, especially with Xiaopeng having that ultimate up and available, but they just never get to pull the trigger. And this is, as you said, one of the things that's been irking TT is that decision making is either one, not the right one, or two, they're just not following up on it properly.
This is leading to CS leads across the board. They got about 10 in top side, 10 in mid lane, 10 or 20 sometimes in bot side, depending on when the Aphelios is able to reset. So this is RNG doing what RNG do best, which is just slowly find advantages without even making a hard play. They don't need to do massive fights or dives in any of the lanes to make these advantages happen. They can just passively pick them up.
And the most interesting thing about RNG is usually when we see teams that are like, hey, we've got this really strong mid-game skirmish, right, we got to get dragons. We got to start stacking these so we can force these fights. Let's go. Instead, what RNG do is we're like, no, we're going to focus Rift Heralds. We're going to focus that top tower specifically, and we're going to start looking to play the map. We don't care about these early dragons. As long as we get that first tower, we can start playing around the map, utilizing lanes, start taking those tempo advantages and growing larger and larger advantages. So when we eventually get to these big team fights, we just have the larger wallet and don't really care that you got 2 or 3 of these dragons lined up.
I love what Wei is doing right now. He's just sitting in a bush knowing that he can jump onto any of these carries should they take a step too far forward. It's going to be difficult here for TT to make anything really go awry, as they would have to really overstep, and I think this is going to be a little bit of wasted time. But even then, the time isn't really that wasted because there's no real camps for Xiaohu to take, or Xiaohu, excuse me, for Wei to take. He can just wait in the bush, give himself a little bit of priority, and now with the Aphelios going back, has to stop his back as they're dropping down the Rift Herald. They might just get this turret. I don't think you can really contest this.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be super hard. You can see Xiaopeng starting to try and make his way down, but not really in a position to go for this. That turret will fall, and this is exactly what we talked about, right? RNG love to get these early turrets down and start to make plays. Xiaopeng in the vicinity now, though.
In the vicinity, but on a ward, so Shelly will have done her duty and gotten the first turret of the game and all 5 of its plates. So we would normally see it going to Xiaohu on the top side, but like to see it put into Gala. They know that this Aphelios will become an issue, and if they can just keep this full poke Varus much further ahead than the Aphelios, they should be in a decent spot.
I mean, there's just this... It's so hard now for TT just because even if it's a small lead, right? We've seen exactly what RNG can do with this. Throw Gala in towards this mid lane, start to utilize the fact that Yuekai already has that advantage in a side lane, and they'll push in bot, collapse on mid with Yuekai, and just force you off of this mid lane tower. And even if they don't take the tower, they're going to get a plate, they're going to get a bit more pressure, they're going to start looking towards this Rift Tower that's spawning in a minute and a half, and they're going to be in a phenomenal spot. And again, this is where RNG are getting towards their items. They are becoming stronger and stronger.
Looking at the items, Sam D has gone back, picked up his Immortal Shield Bow, so he's got a little bit more survivability. I like this adaptation. Yes, we talked about the Kraken Slayer, but that's against a traditional Mundo, I suppose. Right now, he just has to survive against a Mundo that will just be running at him. Normally, you can ignore him as he's just a tank, but that's not how Xiaohu plays it. So I actually quite like this from Sam D, just making sure that he stays alive and he's still able to pump out the DPS.
Yeah, certainly would keep him safe against the burst from Yuekai as well. I think that's the major threat for the backline right now is that LeBlanc, and that's especially where Pudding is going to come into favor because he has to try and keep Xiaohu at bay and also keep Yuekai from assassinating Sam D. So a lot of these team fights will rely on Pudding and Sam D's positioning to try and win the favor for TT.
See how it all goes. Bit of a slower mid-game. That's after the early dive on bot side as RNG now find themselves up in the top lane. Xiaopeng going to get jumped on here by Wei, and we're going to see now Ming going in with the quickness and will be able to catch him out. Dead jungler on TT, and a flash from Pudding as the Chains of Corruption from Gala was there. This is a great little move from RNG, and there's just no response right now. Look at the waves, look at the map. There's nothing that TT can do to answer back.
I mean, Yuekai's pushed in mid, and now it's the 4-man collapse on top, and Xiao7, I'm very sorry. I'll salute you later.
Yeah, we're going to see where is he going to go? Absolutely nowhere. Gala gets gifted over that kill. They can even still tank his Xiaohu, forgetting that he was tanking the turret there for a little bit. And that's the 2 towers now, 1 in bot and 1 in top, all taken down by RNG, and TT are fumbling right now. They're just only getting onto that bot tier 1 now.
And it's so difficult to keep up with RNG, right? We already talked about their lane priority. Right, well, they shove in mid, they just collapse on top, and it means you can't keep up. And now, there's only that singular turret remaining where you can play side lanes and just group again on this mid lane. And for TT, that's disastrous. And they're finding it so difficult to even keep vision control in their jungle. So how do you spot that kind of play coming?
It's a gore drinker on the Xiaohu. I thought it was going to be the stride breaker, but it's the gore drinker. So going even more bruisery, recognizing that if he can just keep himself healthy and alive in these team fights, he can put out the DPS. And in less than a minute's time, we will have a dragon, and it's a 4,000 gold lead here for RNG, and that's only basically off of the 2 turrets and the 2 kills advantage. So you can see just how good they are at just creating advantage. Now 20 CS in the top side, now 20 CS in the mid lane, 10 CS in the bot side. It is becoming harder and harder for TT to find answers for this, as we can see Xiaopeng in a little bit of a Clint Eastwood movie.
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, we're getting the full cinematic box effect here, and yeah, I don't know, I mean, I feel like I'm watching a movie now. I feel like I'm actually at the cinema, but unfortunately, it's a bit of a heartbreaker there for Xiaopeng as he ends up falling. And as we start to move forward this dragon, we talked about RNG just hitting their spikes. Phenomenal. Let's just go use it at this dragon. You try and fight us, TT. Well, we've already hit all of our item spikes, and not only are we hitting them, we are better at using them right now.
I think that's the big thing as well, is that you are confident as RNG to come into this, and I think TT very respectfully know that they are not confident to be able to take that fight. And with teleports available for Yuekai and of course Xiaohu, it just becomes very messy and difficult to go for this. And of course we saw Xiaopeng use his flash to no real avail to try and get away from that last gank in the top side. So I think this is just smart from TT, now trying roaming over for this Rift Herald, but RNG are in the vicinity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a risky one. Xiaohu still has his TP to get there, but with Yuekai backing, may not be the commit from RNG unless they want to double TP for this.
I think they do. They know they've got a little bit of power right now. TP going to be coming in, double TP going to be committed, so there's going to be Mundo in the middle, and it's going to be the LeBlanc on the top side. The quickness has been used, as has the Dark Passage. That's going to be nowhere left for the Trundle to leave from, but they're not done, RNG. They're still pushing, they're still prodding, they'll pick up 2. You can see Sam D trying to put out the damage, but he's only got 1 item, Dagda. He just can't do it, and RNG are smothering TT. They want the full, clean ace, and they will get it. Absolute decimation, and it's clean.
And you can't do anything. RNG, they just run you down. Yes, you get the Rift Herald, but now you're losing towers. The gold is massive for RNG as well. And that's the team fight that RNG were looking for to fully break open this game.
And this was just smart. Yuekai goes back, picks up his first mythic item, knows that he's at a power spike because at that time, hadn't got the Everfrost, so comes in with the Ludens, and they just have the damage.
Yeah, and look, whatever Xiao7's trying to do, there's just nothing that can happen here. Yes, he's got the Divine Sunder, he's almost tanky, but not tanky enough, especially when the rest of TT are running for the hills, trying desperately to keep people off the backline, but there's just nothing left, there's no damage there. And you can see Sam D trying to toss every little auto he has out, but just gets assassinated in the end.
Great team fight there from RNG. And you can see the Gore Drinker at work, just keeping Xiaohu topped up, not going down below half HP. So no one really feeling confident to go for it. And it forced the commitment there from Xiaopeng. Like we said, normally you ignore the Mundo on the backside because he's not going to do much onto your carries, but you cannot ignore him. He had to commit the Cataclysm onto the Mundo. Otherwise, Sam D probably would have died even quicker.
Yeah. And I mean, at that stage, you're kind of just done and dusted, right? If you're already trying to deal with Xiaohu in the backline, where you got Gala who's raining down on top of Yuekai now, who's kind of free to roam because Pudding has invested so much in keeping Xiaohu off of you. So a lot of plays here kind of coming together as RNG. And for TT, we said, hey, look, like, there's no need for you to actually try and over-invest in this, right? The Rift Herald is going to be super nice for RNG, but it'd be better if you just waited until your items came online. Make sure that you can get this collector finish for Sam D, who's going this more mid-game orientated Aphelios style, so he can actually do a lot of work a lot earlier, and then you could look to fight for these later dragons. Start to put your eggs into the late game basket, not just toss it away at these early stages.
It's a full item difference between the Aphelios and the Varus. Varus, Gala going towards the Serpent's Fang before the mythic items, so looking for power now to burn through those little shields. There's a couple of them as well. You've got Xiaopeng, of course, with the W, able to keep himself shielded up, and if Sam D gets the Dark Passage, he will have a tiny little shield as well. So just looking for that penetration, looking to see if he can blow someone up with a piercing arrow, and RNG saying, look, we know that you are all very, very afraid of us, as they should be, and that means this topside jungle is ours.
And TT are going to really struggle to defend this. You can see Aphelios and Thresh in mid lane trying to push that. Gives RNG the time to maybe collapse here.
Maybe look for a collapse. They are going to try and put down the poke here. You can see poking and prodding with the LeBlanc, and of course Xiaohu on the Mundo throwing out the infected bone slaws, which I still think should be cleavers, but whatever. That's my own grievance with the naming team on Riot. Similar to Tam Kench, Abyssal Voyage changed to Abyssal Dive. Voyage just sounds more epic. And yeah, TT, they just have to try and survive. Like you said, soak up these waves, get Aphelios maybe on the 2.5 items before looking for a fight. I think they're... Never mind. I was going to say they are fine to soak up this and wait for their time, but you walk 2 steps outside of your turret range and you're dead.
And especially with a Rakan, you can see Ming flash there as well. Just burns it to pick off Sam D. And now, where's your wave clear? Like, the problem that TT have right now is that they're just lacking in anything that can actually deal with these waves when they push in, because they all have to get up so close and personal to actually get rid of them. Then you're looking at, okay, well, drag it again for RNG in a couple of seconds, where they'll be totally fine to pick it up. You try and contest for Baron. Well, look at the vision that's littered in the top side of TT's jungle. It's all RNG favored.
They have to drop the Rift Herald very, very deep in their own base there, so that's probably not going to get its charge off onto the top side. Although, that being said, I do see a lot of TT members kind of shepherding it towards that tower, saying we need something, we need anything that could maybe lead us to getting some gold income, as they are struggling right now. It is a 10,000 gold lead, or 9.5 just underneath it, as we come up to the 21.5 minute mark. They will get Shelly to pop into the turret, but it will not take it down, not even close, to be perfectly honest. And Xiaohu, they can't really dive him either.
No, especially with the Gore Drinker, Bramble Vest, and the Giant's Belt. He's way too tanky, has way too much sustain, and you just don't have the damage to take him down. And you can see Yuekai's come up here just to collect the wave. They want to swap Xiaohu towards that bottom lane to match against Xiao 7 and actually start playing up towards this Baron as well, which is why you can see TT trying to set up a death brush here.
Yeah, those wards are very fresh, so Ming needs to be a little bit careful. Tier 1 and bot side does go down, but we can see the hook misses, and now TT might be in a little bit of trouble. The TP has been committed here by the Mundo. The box and the flash. Xiaohu, though, might be feeling good about this one. He flashes over the wall and says, Pudding, you missed your hook, and that equals your death. And now, without a support, what do RNG want to do?
I mean, they can kind of do anything right now. You can push in top, push mid, take Baron. The world's your oyster here is RNG. I mean, a 10,000 gold lead, like, that buys you entry to everywhere.
I mean, yeah, it's so much money at this point that it doesn't matter what you want to do or what the opponent wants to do. You are deciding it, and they're going to be able to decide to take down that tier 2. But now, Xiaopeng need to be a little bit careful. Oh, Ming almost getting the interrupt there on the flag and drag. Not quite able to make it stick, but this vision control is pretty damning right now in terms of TT's chances of getting anywhere near this Baron, and that could be the call here from RNG.
I think we have to talk to a few of our officials, though, because I was told that this was going to be like, you know, the heavyweight league coming in for all this heavy lifting, that we're going to be looking at the powerlifting on our Olympic day. And I mean, TT just aren't up to scratch. Looking like serious lightweights in just RNG, again, on form, looking strong and taking over this game.
Yep, look at the scores. 1-0-5 for Xiaohu. He has not been the focus this game, but the rest of his team has stepped up to the plate. 3-1 and 3 on Yuekai. 4-0-6 on Varus for Gala. Yuekai now going to find, going to absolutely decimate him. We are going to see the Cataclysm committed as Yuekai forced to flash away, but almost having the burst damage with that Cosmic Drive to just pretty much nearly kill him outright.
And what do you do? I mean, as TT, you're like, okay, well, maybe we can look for a pick. Let's two-man this. Nope, we're nearly dead. All right, back to base. Let's go back to the strategy table here, because they've tried to do the depth brush. Big ol' X on that one. They try to make another pick. Big ol' X on that one. It feels like there's nothing that RNG can do here that's actually working out for them. And now you can see collapses on towards Baron as well. As RNG, they're going to pull the trigger.
They got to pull the trigger. The big purple worm knows that this is a pretty easy objective for RNG to be able to take. That being said, though, TP being committed here into the mid lane. That's going to be the Trundle coming in. Xiao 7 seeing if they are going to go for this one. It isn't a quick Baron, so they've got a little bit of time, but they just jump straight in on top of Xiaopeng. He's going to see Ming now getting caught out and getting bursted down. Now the Dragon, or the Baron, just gets taken down by RNG. They do lose one, but they gain the big objective.
Pretty worth there, to be honest. I mean, Ming giving his life to just make sure they can get it and actually close out this game. I was kind of eyeing up TT going, they look like they want to take the 4v5. I don't think they win the 4v5.
No, they do not win the 4v5, as we've seen now. There's a hook landing onto Xiaohu, but he is CC immune, and yeah, a lot of damage onto him. He does use the stolen quickness to try and keep him there, but there's a kill traded, so 1-for-1. It's a 3v4 in favor of TT, but look at Xiaohu. He's just a monster in this front line, just saying, look, I know you haven't got the damage to kill me right now. It's only 2 items on the Aphelios, and now with the TP on the back end of the TT, they're on the wrong side of the map.
And there's nothing you can actually stop. Oh, hang on, Gala.
Gala gets jumped on. Cataclysm is committed, and that's another kill. But look at these so low health bars. Sam D has nothing, and he will be popped down. 2 kills for the LeBlanc as Xiaopeng is now running for his life. Ming seeing if he can find somebody else to try and give over to his mid laner. Triple kill for Yuekai, and they're looking for the Quadra. They're hunting for it right now. The quickness to try and speed up this Rakan, and he'll take away the kill, but it ends up being a very good fight for RNG.
And now you've got a barned up Xiaohu pushing in on this bottom side. The rest of RNG are going to be able to pick up. Now, lacking an AD carry will mean that these towers will take a little bit more time, but certainly the demolish on Xiaohu going to help out.
The demolish, the gore drinker, and of course the ravenous, or the Tiamat that's going to be going into a Titanic Hydra. I always get those two mixed up. And let's have a look at this fight, because this is just, again, this is just RNG smacking them with their wallets.
I mean, 4 versus 5, and even here you can see in that top side, right? LeBlanc nearly going down, but Yuekai just about surviving, and as long as Xiaohu's in the front line, there's nothing that TT can do about it. Gala now does make a big mistake here, where everyone on RNG kind of separates, and nice job from TT to just kind of hide and seek here, pick off Gala, but again, Xiaohu, Yuekai, they're just too big. You can't deal with them.
They just got too much damage, and you see their Ming playing keep away, just saying, look, I'm on this side of the jungle. You can't run to here, so they'll know exactly where you go. And then, of course, we do see Yuekai and, of course, Ming later finishing up those kills. And again, this was before RNG were able to go back, spend those items, and now you have the Titanic Hydra. Now you have the fully completed Thormail and a 25 stacked Medjais for Yuekai on this LeBlanc. No one will survive his burst.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, Yuekai kind of looking pretty alright. 2 games in the LeBlanc, 2 good games from him, and now RNG in the base. You've got Xiaohu pushing in on bot side as well. I'm sorry for you, TT. There's very little you can do.
There is nothing you can do. You just watch as RNG absolutely pick apart everything in your base. Nothing left. That's a big minion wave in bot side. You can see the damage there just from the LeBlanc onto the Trundle, the arguably tankiest member on the TT squad side. And Chain of Corruption lands. Pudding gonna have to be forced back into his base, and Baron has just fallen off, so they will not have the Baroned up minions. But right now, RNG are just feeling comfortable. They can keep pushing.
You've got the redemption to keep themselves topped up. Tower 1 goes down, Tower 2. Now, TT, this is where you have to make your stand if you're going to do it.
You got inside, you got to go for it. You cannot just be sitting here waiting for something to happen. They use the Everfrost on the Xiaohu, but he is just keeping 4 members away. And you can see Xiao7 trying to go 1-for-1 against this LeBlanc, but with the tower now due to fall, it is going to be the Jarvan to fall at the start of this fight. We will see them going for the base defense as they are diving a little bit too deep. So they are going to take down the Xin Zhao. And this Xiao7 Trundle is very, very tanky. However, the turnaround, the flash in from Xiaohu means they know they can take this fight. It's very, very close here for TT. They know the LeBlanc, though, has just got all the damage. Now Gala with no mana left. Just enough. Pentakill! I didn't even notice it for TT on Sam D. This Aphelios strikes again.
The Penta Penguin is real. Every time you manage to pull this out. But Sam D, in the last moments as the terrors fall, will hold strong in the base. But unfortunately for TT, you're not out of the woods yet. There is still so much open for RNG. Exposed Nexus, they can just run through the base and take it, but we'll see overextensions here from RNG, right? You constantly have TT moving back towards the fountain, healing up. RNG even taking turret shots off the fountain as well. And it means that eventually Sam D is able to get through that beefy front line. And this whole time he's been playing incredibly safe on this back line. He's swapped through 3-4 different guns at this stage, which means he's moving through those abilities so damn fast, able to take these members down. And eventually manages to pick off Gala with his great sniper shot.
Just I didn't even notice it. Just Sam D doing Sam D things. And now, all of a sudden, I'm looking at this. Yes, there's still so much to do. He is on 4 items, including
he straight
his
up
boost.
bought an Infinity Edge.
Yes,
straight up just bought it.
And finished off his last Whisper item as well. So just absolutely insane. And Sam D could be the thing that keeps TT in this game. It is a very nice silver lining Penta Penguineer to mess up the Penta call, because I didn't even notice it going down. But they now have a goal. Keep your AD carry alive. Keep this Aphelios going in these fights. It doesn't matter about the Trundle. It doesn't matter about the Sylas, and it does not matter about the Jarvan. It matters that this Aphelios is there and ready to take on these fights, because they can turn it around.
Yeah, you need Yuekai to assassinate him. Otherwise, he's going to do a lot of work in these fights, especially with that Infinity Edge now complete. So, RNG, though, starting up this Baron as Yuekai is on the hunt, seeing who he can pick off.
And this is the big thing. We look at the time right now. It's 30 minutes and 30 seconds there. They are going to be able to pick up the Baron here, so this should be an okay setup here for RNG. But this is where things get a little bit dicey here for RNG. You pick this Mundo and go with a very mid-game centered build to say, look, we are going to win this between this time. Now, the extra 12,000 gold does give you an extra bit of time there, but important for TT, like we just mentioned, the gold is on Sam D, and he can defend against these super minions.
Also, the stopwatch is going to help out quite a lot, just in case Yuekai does get access, buy a little bit of space, but you still have to be super careful, right? Like, we can say, hell, yeah, Sam D's in a really good spot, but you still got a lot there on RNG. You can see Yuekai just playing kind of footsie, essentially, with Xiaohu, kind of moving in, taking a little bit of damage, chipping away at his health bar. Xiaohu can still run a lot of these members down, and even has been building basically this full armor just to deal with this Aphelios pick.
Yeah, going a little bit more towards the, I suppose the word would be the tankier, traditional build for the Mundo as his last few items. And the problem for TT right now, though, is you're going to get an Ocean Soul for RNG, and that makes it very difficult to actually burn down these health bars, or at least make these team fights work in your favor if you're just constantly healing off it. So Xiaohu going to be feeling pretty confident and going forward off of that. And then, actually important to recognize, Sam D didn't even use his summoners in that last fight, so everything is available here apart from the flash from Xiaopeng. It's probably going to be a big last-ditch effort here for TT. Sam D needs to be protected. The quickness has been popped. Shrelia's Revelry in response. Now, Chain of Corruption comes out to try and stop this Trundle from running forward, and he's still very, very tanky. Middle lane inhibitor and bot lane inhibitor gonna respawn and be taken just as they go back up to life. Now, Stolen Xin Zhao ult here for Xiaohu moving forward, recognizes, look, we don't even need to go for the fight right now. We can just go for the end. He has a lot of damage. Now, do we go for the fight straight away? We do, but it's deleted. Sam D trying his very, very best. He gets one, but he's taken down before he can get anything more. It was a valiant effort from TT. They made it last a little bit longer than it probably should have, but it is going to be RNG taking game 1 in this best of 3.
They just had to give one last hurrah to Sam D. The carry for TT does get up the pentakill, but unfortunately, that last fight, his guns just sucked. He didn't have anything that he was able to really take down RNG with, and eventually, en masse, RNG descend on towards the Nexus.
A little dicey there towards the last team fight there, and a great move, great moment for Sam D picking up a pentakill on his Aphelios, but in the end, the result was the same as we expected. RNG, though, we are seeing cracks in their very late game shot calling. Yes, they get these early advantages, and yes, they're able to make this work for them, but you can see there, like with a 14,000, nearly 15,000 gold lead, I feel like you shouldn't be giving away 5 kills to the Aphelios.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I don't think it really mattered, and I think RNG were kind of aware of this. Like, they had such a large gold lead. They were just sitting in base, kind of farming up structures. It was just kind of a, hey, maybe we can push for the end. If not, this doesn't stop the game. The Nexus is still exposed, so having a little bit of fun with it. But still, you can see Sam D up there when it came towards the damage. He was trying his damnedest to carry in this Aphelios. It was just unfortunate that he didn't really have anywhere to hide from the likes of Yuekai, Xiaohu running down, and even Gala raining down these arrows as well.
Yeah, it really was just RNG finding an advantage and just rolling with it. You can see how quickly it becomes from 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 9,000. It just accelerates so damn quickly. And yes, it is a risk to pick up the Mundo and build him for a mid-game centric build. But if you're just far ahead and you get this many advantages, it doesn't matter if you have an Aphelios and better scaling in the late game, because the late game is just never going to come.
I also think it's really cool that Xiaohu does have this build to like slot into more mid-game focused builds, right? Because especially when you look at like, hey, you know, we're going up things against the Ziggs and Aphelios. If you have a composition that is like, hey, we need to spike in this mid-game and we need our top laner to be on point with that, cool, this new build works super well. So I'm really enjoying the fact that we're seeing that bit of creativity from Xiaohu when it comes towards that, but we have to see if it will continue. Either way, I think for TT, the biggest struggle for them right now was, hey, count on like 15 different hands how many jungle bans we had here, because every ban this game just went towards the jungle. It was absolutely insane. So I think, especially coming into game number 2, bit of more priority towards Xiaopeng to at least allow him have a foothold in this game. It looked like literally from minute 1, Wei just took over the jungle matchup, and then you just never got to see TT.
Yeah, always on the back foot, TT, whereas RNG give over a penta, but they do get themselves the victory in game 1. We're going to send it to a quick break, and when we return, picks and bans for game 2 will be happening very shortly.